Hi, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining today. So we're going to talk today about denim and sustainability and about the challenges of the denim processes. So I'm Mathilde from Sustainyourstyle. We are a non-for-profit raising awareness about sustainability in the fashion industry. We're also offering some consulting services for brands to take a step forward toward more sustainable processes of production. I want to say we love fashion, we care about the responsibility, but we see the value and the beauty of fashion, and we believe in combining both. So that's where we are. I will do a short introduction now, talking about what's wrong with the denim process and of production and what are the available solutions. And then I'm going to let our guest talk. So we have here Sabine Kühnl, which is the editor-in-chief of the magazine Sportswear International, and Tonnaer, founder and CEO of Kings of Indigo. So thanks a lot for being here.
Sure.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
So what are you, yeah. Why are we talking about jeans and denim? So as you know, it's one of the most universal garments. We can find it from the catwalk to the slum. It's everywhere. We produce and sell more than 2 billion jeans every year. So that means 73 pairs of jeans per second. So by the end of our talk, today it's about 1 hour, there would be 260,000 pairs of jeans more in the world. And myself, I love jeans. I wear jeans 300 days a year, so I don't want to criticize too much. But as much as I love jeans, I have to tell you some facts about the production which are not so lovable. As you can see in our stand in premium, in all three, to produce 1 pair of jeans, it needs more than 10,000 liters of water. And it needs a lot of chemical, it creates a lot of carbon emission and pollution, air pollution, water pollution, but I'm going to see that a bit later. So, more in detail, what's in our jeans? Mainly it's cotton. So, what's wrong with cotton? Actually, nothing is wrong with cotton. What's wrong is with human being, because we manage to whatever we touch, we ruin it somehow. So it's a marvelous fiber, but it needs a lot of water and a lot of heat to grow. But we mainly produce cotton in very dry area like Uzbekistan or India. That means we need a lot of irrigation. It takes more than 2,000 liters of water to grow 1 kilo of cotton. So that's a main challenge. So basically, if you look at it, 85% of the daily need in water of the entire population of India would be covered by the water used to grow cotton in the country. And in India, there is more than 100 million people who have no access to drinking water. So that's one of the big challenge. The other one is cotton is quite a fragile plant, and it gets very easily affected by pests and insecticides. So it needs an amazing amount of insecticide. I mean, it's used, the farming of cotton use a lot of pesticides and insecticide to kill these bugs and insects. The effect on that, as most of you know, when you spray those chemicals, which are most of the time very harmful, on the plants, it goes in the water and it pollutes the groundwater. Also, when the rain go over the crop, it's the chemical going to the influent and then into the river, and it's pollute the whole ecosystem and the rivers. It's also not killing only the worms and the insect of the cotton, but all other insects necessary for the ecosystem, like bees and many other. The big challenge with that is also that most of the cotton farmer, spray the cotton and work in the field without protection, and it's extremely dangerous. Every year there are 27 people dying of cancer and or miscarriage due to the spray of chemical on cotton. So that's quite terrible. Because of this weakness of this plant, the genetically modified cotton is extremely spread in the world. Most of the cotton is actually GM, 82% to be precise. The problem with GM cotton, it's usually it's work very well for a few years. The production is better. The farmer needs less chemical to resist the pest, but then the insect gets used to this type, and they again need chemical. But they also need to buy the seeds because they are from big company like Monsanto. So they get in debt to get the seeds, to get the chemical. The soils are impoverished because of the spraying of the chemical, and the production after 5 years is not very big enough, and farmers get in debt. And we have this problem in India where hundreds of thousands of farmers are killing themselves every year because of this heavy debt, to avoid passing on the debt to their family because of this GM genetically modified seeds. So this is quite a terrifying fact. Also, genetically modified cotton needs much more water than the non-GM. So that's about cotton. What option do we have for a better cotton? We have the organic cotton, which doesn't use any pesticide, insecticide. It's non-genetically modified, so it's much safer for the environment, much safer for the worker and for the end consumer. We have also recycled cotton, so that's also allowed to reduce the amount of waste we are producing by throwing our clothes, and of course it's reduced a lot the water needed to produce fiber. Although the recycled cotton, because the fibers is quite short, normally need to be blended with virgin cotton, ideally organic cotton, to be strong enough, otherwise too weak. But this is an amazing solution that cuts a lot of the chemical and water needs. You may have heard about Better Cotton Initiative, BCI, which sometimes is perceived as organic. It's not organic. It's used pesticide, it's used insecticide, it's used GM seeds. So it's maybe a little bit better than the conventional, but it's a little bit far from being organic. So it's not yet a great alternative from my perspective. So another fiber that we find in our jeans is elastan or spandex, to give a stretch to it. The problem with elastan is a synthetic fiber coming from petroleum, so it's take a lot of energy and the CO2 emission to produce it. But it's also release microplastic fiber when we wash it in our washing machine. So then this microfiber goes into the river and to the ocean. The other problematic with that is the fabric is then non-biodegradable, and it's more difficult to recycle with today's technology. A blended fabric with a mix of synthetic and cotton than 100% fiber. So it's more difficult. Hopefully that will change. As more sustainable option for elastan, we have now some recycled elastan, recycled spandex. There are also brands using a mix of organic cotton with natural rubber to give this stretch to the jeans. So that's a really interesting alternative to this problem. Other challenges of the production of the jean, obviously, as most of you have heard about, is the dyeing process. So the cotton doesn't take easily the dyes, so it's need many time to put the fabric and the yarn in the dyes to get impregnated. So those dyes are heavily loads of chemical, quite harmful. So it's also, in many cases, dangerous for the worker in this dyeing factory. But it also takes a lot of water to then get rid of the excess of dyes. So it's liters and liters of water used. But then this liter full of dyes go to the river. In most of the cases, the dye factory are in country where there is no treatment plant, no water treatment. So it goes directly to the river. The issue is the dyes, they are made to be water resistant, otherwise our jeans would be white after one wash. But when they are in the water, when they are in the river, they are non-biodegradable, they stay there. They make the water not transparent anymore, the light doesn't go through. And so the photosynthesis doesn't happen, and the whole aquatic ecosystem cannot happen. So basically we're creating dead river with this dyes release. It's also very harmful for people living in the bank of those rivers, which shouldn't drink this water, used for agricultural purposes or fish, obviously. But we know that in Asia, most of the rivers are heavily polluted with mercury, with arsenic from textile treatment plant. So that's a heavy issue of the production. There are, however, some nice sustainable option to really reduce this impact. Some brands use a foam dye denim, which basically the yarn is passed through 3 chambers and they are sprayed with a foam infused with indigo dye. So it doesn't use any water and it's consumes much less energy. So it's quite a nice option. There is another option which is it replaces the traditional dyes with a concentrated liquid sulfur, and it's also reduced by 92% the amount of water needed. Yeah, there are also some natural dyes possible with some chitosan mushroom, which is non-toxic, which is biodegradable. Use much less water, so there are options. You know, it's a question to use it, and there are lots of research in that area because it's a very worrying aspect. So there is a group of brands with Gap and Banana Republic doing some research on dry indigo and so on. So we quite hope that that's gonna get better in the coming year. Finally. You know, we all like our jeans to look old. I don't know why, but we love that. But that's also another process, which is a lot of time quite harmful. There is different process. One is the chemical bleaching. So basically, you put the jeans in a bleach, which again chemicals again need a lot of water to get rid of the enzyme and the bleach. Again, a lot of time go to the river, pollute the river. And again, it's quite harmful for workers in those factories, which a lot of time doesn't work with a lot of gears, protection gears. Another technique is stone wash. So basically, you put the fabric and the jeans in a huge washing machine with stones, and pushing the jeans with a stone give it a worn-out effect. The issue with this technique is then you need a lot of water again to get rid of the residues, the sand residues from the jean. So it's heavy consumption of water. And another technique that you may have heard about is sandblasting. So basically you blast some sand on the jeans to give it a worn-out effect. This technique, the issue with it is it produces a lot of micro sand particle, and it gets into the lung of workers, and it creates a disease which is called silicosis, and thousands of workers have been infected by this disease, and many of them died. So this technique is now prohibited in some countries like Turkey, but it's still happening in other countries like Bangladesh, China, and Pakistan. So that's another issue. As alternative option, as we really want our jeans to look old, we can use leather, which doesn't need to burn basically the surface of the jeans. It doesn't use water, and it increases the strength of the fabric. So because the bleaching really decreases the strength and the longevity of the fabric, and it's less harmful for the worker. There is another technique which is ozone. Basically, it's transformed oxygen into ozone gas, and the jeans are damped into it, and basically it's give a bleach. It give a lighter color, and it's also using a lot less water and a lot less chemical than the traditional bleaching. So I haven't really emphasized on that. But as many of you know, those are the problematic specific for the denim production. But labor conditions are usually quite harsh in the whole garment production, not only the denim, in terms of low wages, health and safety condition, and child labor, excessive amount of working hours, and so on, especially in the sewing and cutting part of the. So that still has to be mentioned, even if it's global, not only for the denim. I also wanted to emphasize the fact that, as you've seen during this presentation, it needs so much chemical to produce a jean. So basically, for 1 kilo of fabric, you need 1 kilo of chemical. The result is, when you get your jean at the store, it's clearly full of chemical. I mean, to be honest, if I was working in a shop, in a garment shop, I would be really worried for my health. And I personally know a woman who had like serious health problem after working many years in a shop and breathing all this chemical. And my sister once, she was wearing a new jean without washing it, and she just sit in the sun, and after 2 hours, she had her leg completely burned because of the sun and the sweat and the chemical. So, first of all, always wash your new clothes, but this is a real issue. I mean, we're wearing things full of chemical. And finally, I wanted to mention a nice initiative from Nudie Jeans, as you may know this brand. So basically, they opened some workshop to repair jeans in their shops, and that's a nice initiative that have been saving. So basically, in 2018, they repaired 55,000 jeans, and so they've been saving the amount of water for 154 Olympic swimming pool. So as I say, if every person who has repaired the jean there would have buy a new one, that would have that's the amount of water that they would have needed. So this is a nice option to give longer life to jeans and decrease the impact on the environment. So that's it for me. I'm gonna let our guest talk. I want to ask you. So Tony, I know Kings of Indigo is using some of the practices I've mentioned and maybe more. So I really want your point of view to show that this is feasible and it's not just theoretical.
Actually, we use all practices which I've seen in your presentation. Not on every product, but in our total collection, yes, we do.
Yeah, I mean the sustainable one I'm mentioning, not the...
all our jeans are made with sustainable materials and made in factories which are audited by Fair Wear Foundation. And the washing, we use as little water as possible, but it's not that every single wash is washed with laser and ozone yet. We still have a few where we do some stone wash, but with less water and with eco-chemicals, so to at least make it cleaner. And I try to sell as many unwashed jeans as possible to raise consumer awareness that why buy a damaged jean? Because it's fashion. We all wear dark jeans, so the darker the jean, the cleaner. So that's the first thing we try, but then and also the same with the less stretch, the cleaner. Because what you said about recycling, polyester is very hard to recycle or upcycle, and if it goes into the landfill or into the sea, it doesn't biodegrade. It's not biodegradable. But but there's amazing alternatives. So non-stretch jeans, I see in women's fashion, looser jeans are getting back into fashion again, which gives an amazing sustainable push in our industry. That you don't have to sell only hyper stretch or high-end stretch things with lots of polyester in it, which I love. Men are still a little bit behind. Men just got into their skinny jeans and are very hard to get out of their skinny jeans at the moment. But I think in a couple of years, I think we'll sell a much healthier ratio of non-stretch jeans and stretch jeans. Like you said, we're launching here at the show the Resolve concept from Kühnl, which is this biodegradable stretch, which is made from natural rubber with organic cotton. So if you bury these jeans, it will dissolve in 2 years, which is an amazing development.
That's really amazing.
Still quite expensive, but with all innovations, it always comes at a price. And when it gets commercialized, the prices also slowly go down.
That's amazing. And some dyes. I read some things. Maybe.
Yeah, dye stuff. I mean, indigo from origin is of course a plant. Also, to be honest, the natural indigo is also not that clean because there are quite some plants in the world which are toxic, and indigo fera is one of them. So it's not that clean, although it sounds natural, sounds clean. Like you said, organic also sounds clean, but it uses a lot of water. So. The most difficult thing is to get this kind of knowledge and messaging. You gave a presentation of maybe half an hour to touch all these subjects, and most consumers, we need to teach these things in 1 minute. Because you have to sell a pair of jeans in 1 minute, not in half an hour. And the most difficult thing is to tell this story about labor conditions, about fabrics, about weaving, dyeing, and washing in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And that's the most difficult part of it, because we need to convince the retailers, we need to convince the consumers to change their buying behavior and the consumption behavior, and that will really make the change. I think we just talked in advance of this, that our children are much more aware of my friends, and they drive the change, and I think they see the need to consume in a different way, buy less, buy better, and stop over-consuming and buy beautiful products with high quality, which last for a very long time. But it's a matter of time. When I started with sustainable fashion, it was 2002 with Kühnl, the first organic denim brand, like 18 years ago. And in those days, people were laughing at me. They said, what do you mean, organic? Who cares? Cotton is a plant, so it is organic, right? So, and if you look today, we're sitting here with some people, we're seeing it tomorrow at Premium, and there's so much going on about this subject. And then the most difficult thing is the need that everybody wants to talk about it, but there's also a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of greenwashing. There's a lot of people, they need to do something because they feel they need to do something, and they make one little program. But I think we need to change our total mentality of how to develop a product, how to design a product, for consumers how to consume and how you to enjoy upcycling or recycling, or see waste not as waste, but see waste as a new start of a new product. And I think that's slowly changing at the moment. That's beautiful to see. But the most important thing is, like, if you look at organic meat, for example, or if you go to electric cars, the story is pretty easy. Although there's batteries involved, there's what kind of energy do you use for electric cars? Is it green or is it brown kolen? So there's also still electric car with like dirty energy is still a dirty car. But I think the consumer awareness and the consumer interest is starting to change. And I think the industry is really changing. If I look at Kingpins or like Denim Premier Vision, there's a lot of innovation in the industry. Yeah. And also I see with the young consumers a really drive for, if you look at Extinction Rebellion, for example, there's a lot of movement with younger people, reactive movement to change our vision on how to consume and how to live. And in between is brands and retail, and they're the link between the consumer and the industry. And I think there we still have to really change. Because we all sit talking about this, but if I go to the Kurfürstendamm and I try to buy a pair of sustainable denim, it will be really, really hard. And if I read the magazines, I read a lot about this. So there's still a big gap between what consumers are maybe interested in, or press is writing about, and what brands are really offering to their consumers, or what really retailers really dare to buy and take a risk to launch a new brand. With innovative
and
concepts.
Understanding of the value of clothes. I think our generation, we grew up with the habit to see very low prices. So when you tell somebody this T-shirt is 50 euros, it's like, no way, this is 50 euro for a T-shirt. And so the perception of prices has to be a bit reset, I believe.
I think it is starting to change. But like all change, it doesn't come overnight. And if you have a certain mentality, it's very hard to change the mentality to something different as a consumer or as a brand or as an industry. But I think the fact that there's a lot of talk about it's a good start. But now we have to just do it and just make the change and motivate people to do it in a positive way. I think there's also a lot of negative stuff about if you're not sustainable, you're not okay. I think you shouldn't polarize it so much, because polarization in society doesn't help. You see it in Britain with the Brexit, you see it in Germany with right wing, left wing. I think to find a consensus about a slow change model, I think is the most acceptable for everybody. And also some people don't have the money to spend 100 euros on a pair of King's Indigo jeans. So maybe they don't have the money and they just have to buy something cheaper. But then they can buy second-hand or maybe buy in the sale somewhere, or that's also a possibility. But I think information and what would be really helping is a kind of benchmark to learn consumers how to decide. Because if you go to a store and you don't know anything about how fashion is made or denim is made, you don't know how should you decide if you buy a Scotch soda jeans or King's Indigo. And there's a big difference in how we make stuff. But yeah, it's both they have 5 pockets, they're blue, and they look both really nice. But one is made in a different way than the other one. Not to name and shame, but it's just an example. And there needs to be a kind of benchmark, like if you go to buy a refrigerator, you see already a green to red color on the product. Same with a car, same with energy. And I think in clothing there's not really one label which does that. There's GOTS certified organic cotton, there's OCS, there is Fair Wear Foundation, there are so many organizations that the consumer, but also the retailer, I think, they don't know. That's really hard to decide what is good and what is not so good. And I think that could be a great system if we can develop a kind of simple, idiot-proof sustainability for dummies kind of benchmark, like IMDb. I love IMDb. For movies, it's very simple. It's from the rating from 1 to 10. And
there are some interesting initiative in that direction. There's this Good on You, which work a little bit like the IMDb for fashion, and they give a rating. Well, it's so.
Yeah.
There are more and more initiative in that direction.
Most important that it's a global standard, because our industry and our economies are global. And I see a lot of local initiatives, like also for organic standards or recycled standards or for fair wages. People need to work together to get this done. And still a lot of these kind of certifications are NGO driven, and NGOs rely on subsidies from the government, and they need to achieve. So they tend, what I saw very clearly in the days I worked at Kühnl, they were all financed by NGOs, and they never worked together because they all were looking for their own budget for next year. And I think the most important thing is that everybody works together, and also brands work together. We are very open about all our fabric suppliers, all our factories, where we make it, how we make it. People can come to our office. I just give them the fabrics, or we give them advice, no problem. And that transparency is very, very important, I think, to help the consumer to decide what is true and what is real bullshit. And there's a lot of bullshit out there at the moment. So as a consumer, or also as a retailer, if you buy at a brand, just be very critical. Or as a journalist, you're used to that. Journalists always tend to be very critical, but also consumers are getting more critical at the moment. We also have people calling our office with very critical questions. And that's really good. I really enjoy that. And also brands should be very critical when they develop a product. Where is it made? How is it made? Who made it? What circumstances? And be
But as
passionate.
we see, the fashion industry and the making of the garment is quite complex. So a lot of transparency, it's always good. But the consumer facing this amount of information is a little bit like, how do I choose? Because it's quite complex.
It is complex, but a car is an even more complex product, I would say. And they can explain it, so why can't we explain it? So I think we should find a way together with the industry, with the brands, with the retailers, with the consumers, work together on what do we want to know and how can a consumer decide in, preferably in 10 seconds, maybe 20. They get the information on 5 fingers maybe, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is about social, raw materials, dyeing, washing, and maybe waste management. Get a rating, and then you can see in one hand, this is good, or this is less good, or this is really bad. And that would help, I think, enhance the consumption of consumers for more sustainable products.
We are actually working on a solution like that, which is called Sustainable Identity.
Cool.
It's under progress. It's answer this point.
Because it starts at the consumer, I think. They decide. And I see that also that more and more brands, if you look at Seek, 5 years ago there were maybe a few brands who did sustainable fashion. And if I look now, a big part, I'm not sure how many % of the brands have a sustainable approach at the moment, but it's growing. It's amazing to see. I'm super happy about it. A lot of people ask me, hey, Tony, your unique selling point is going away. I don't care. I have an amazing brand. Kings of Indigo has a great signature and a great tone of voice. So they can really enhance that. People. I hope in 10 years that all brands are sustainable and that we don't have to talk about this anymore.
We don't have to think about where we shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, so I've seen the last magazine of Sportswear International, which is...
it's the responsibility issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. I wanted to ask you what's the number one reason why you decide in your editing committee to talk about that?
Well, first of all, it sounds like a one-hit wonder that we do this. Actually, we've been writing about sustainability, sustainable brands, and the whole development for years. I've just been in our little archive in our Frankfurt editorial office, and I found one issue that was about like 10, 15 years ago, and we called it the ecoist issue. So there we already started to have a shoot with, back then, what was called Sustainable Brands. Maybe Koichi was in it. I have to
Pretty
double
sure
check
it
that
was,
one. So it's been for us nothing new to write about that. So we constantly have the topic in our issues, be it online, be it in print, and every now and then we point it out a bit more by giving it more attention and calling it, for example, last year we had the sustainability issue, now the responsibility issue. We think the topic is getting bigger and bigger, and you cannot just nail it down only to sustainability, or as you said before, only to eco topics. It's about social responsibility, it's about female empowerment, it's about automation. What are we going to do with all the people that will get rid of their jobs once we have like machines and robots doing all the work? So there's so many topics, and it's so complex, and of course that's not denim only, but it affects the whole fashion industry. So we feel like this is not a trend or one special topic, it's like a thing that's just with us, you know. So we have to, even if we will not call every issue now responsible or sustainable, you will deal with the topic just as a given, and just write about it as a natural thing.
And what has been your readers' feedback in a negative and positive sense about your your article and
well, of course, if you do something, or if you label something good and nice, people always like it. It's a bit like a psychological effect. When you ask people in the street, oh, would you pay more for a sustainable pair of jeans? They would say, yeah, of course, And then they go to, don't name them, chains, to Primark or wherever, and buy it for €5. So I think that's a crucial thing, is the price. So it's the same with us. When we do something, or we announce we're about to do a sustainable issue, everybody, oh, fantastic, that's great. I don't know if they changed their production afterwards, after reading the issue, So it's something you really have to want to do it yourself. I mean, we can just have this appeal, and keep it like a plea, and tell what's possible or write about what's possible, and then it's up to the others to start changing. I mean, we try to do our bit. We're not perfect in it, by far not. That's a topic that I'm very sensitive about, is the language we use. You say it's greenwashing, and it's not only the brands, the companies that greenwash. We, unfortunately, also the press do our bit, because we don't do the research good enough. We just write too easily and copy-paste the terms that I use. So what is a sustainable brand? Is that really sustainable then? What is transparency? What is eco? What is recycling? I mean, nobody really thinks about the true definitions and just copy-paste the words and writes them down. So yeah, we have to be also, as journalists, be more self-critical and, do our homework better. So that's, as I also wrote in the editorial, that's my resolution for this year. So, and I don't buy any piece of clothing this year, by the way.
Good.
So just saying that. I mean, the year is very young. It's only, what's today's I should not say them, and I think our salespeople hate me for that, because we should push the business and buy more. But I feel myself, I just walked into my room with a closet, and I was overwhelmed that there's so many things that still have the labeling on. So actually I bought them, never wore them. And then I did this once before, 5 years ago. I also had 1 year of no buying clothes, no shoes, no nothing. And I managed, so now I challenge myself again. And it's only 2 weeks now, the year managed. And I hope I'll manage for the rest of the year as well. So,
but it's really good that you're aware about it. There's also, like, maybe a couple of years ago, people making pictures in restaurants of like the biggest burger. And now sometimes people think, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't post this, because meat is also maybe not always the best thing to eat. So, and also, like, if you go, oh yeah, I go with EasyJet for €29 to Barcelona. Also there you see consumers be more aware of to post these kind of things on social media, because they think, oh yeah, is it so cool to buy a €29 ticket to Barcelona, or is it better to pay the real price, or compensate at least your CO2, or maybe travel in a different way? And I think that mentality is changing with the consumers, and that's really good.
It's amazing. Now, every time you take at least for me, every time I take a flight, there is somebody telling me, and your carbon footprint, and it's like, yeah, I totally agree, but nobody thought about that a few years ago. And
Yeah, at least
it's
you think
amazing
about it
that
now and then you make a
it's-
conscious
it's in
decision.
our
But that's
Yeah.
also a
Right.
question I ask myself, why is the price for a sustainable jean still more expensive or higher than for a regular made one? It should be just the other way around, you know? Because the regular made one causes more damage and more cost in the end.
Yeah.
So if we talk about pricing, I think we should, and then it needs a system change, obviously, find real pricing and make sustainable products.
Yeah, I think if you look at, we
Cheaper.
talked about refrigerators or washing machines. I think in Holland, I'm not sure how it is in Germany, we pay 25 euros, we call it removement tax. So yeah, you pay 25 euros when you buy it in the price already to get this recycled or upcycled and take it apart. And yeah, this could be a way also with a pair of jeans that if you bring it back to the store, you get some money back if you buy a new pair of jeans. So at least it's not going into the trash, but can be used as a new raw material for a new pair of jeans. Or maybe the government should do it. In Holland, I think we have the most percentage of electric cars after Norway. But and Tesla was the best sold car in November, December last year. One of the reasons is because they have a tax benefit on these sustainable cars. But on sustainable fashion, we have 21% VAT. In Germany, you have 19%. But maybe it should be 6% only, to also to give a little advantage for the people who buy better. And that would be, or think the other way around, a dirty pair of jeans, to put 10 euros on top of the price to compensate in a different way. And I think, yeah, that would be great. The government could also play
I
a
mean,
role in that.
everything's cost more. I mean, why all these processes are dirty? It's because they are cheap. Because it's cheaper to spread the cotton filled with fertilizer.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah,
produced more than waiting.
Right.
And of course,
That's
you
the
know,
current
organic
state, you
organic
know?
is more expensive because it's slower to grow organic cotton.
and that's why I
potentially.
think about it, you know, if you change the system, if you have a government that says, okay, if you pollute the environment, you have to pay more taxes. So in the end, your regular denims will become more expensive than the, you know, organic ones. But again, then you need like legal decisions, and it needs everybody to work together to change that. Otherwise, I think we will make a bit of progress, but not enough. So I think it really needs more than just, you know, having people like Tony. It needs a system change.
Yeah, but that's also when I was at Kühnl, people said sustainable fashion is uncool, and it's bad quality and it's expensive. And I think we prove with many brands, it's not only us, but also if you look at Veja, if you look at the Knowledge Cotton Apparel, Nudie, they're really nice brands who bring quality garments or shoes or accessories, which are affordable, not cheap, but affordable. Yeah, and if you buy maybe 2 pair of King's Indigo jeans instead of 4 other jeans, which are maybe half the price, you still pay the same amount of money, you have a better product, and you can enjoy it for a much longer time. Our jeans you can wear for 5 to 10 years, no problem. And then you can repair it, like you said, and if you don't repair it, you can upcycle it into like something else. And yeah, you need also be like passionate about this. As a brand, you need to be passionate about making really beautiful product that makes me happy. If I make, I think I wrote in an interview in GNC this edition, it's like if I would be in the regular denim industry, I would have stopped already 10 years ago, because I don't think it's inspiring. The inspiration is innovation and doing things in a different way, and try to also to think different and act different, and create a beautiful product which is affordable, but also better for this earth, and not only for people in Germany or Holland or Northern Europe, but also in the countries where we produce, and give them a good life. That will also help crisis about people wanting to come to Europe because we have more money here. You also have to pay them a proper salary, so they also have a good life in their country.
And what would be the next step, if there are, for Kings of Indigo, in terms of sustainability? What's in your heart? What do you want to achieve next, if there is anything?
Well, number one is we are working very hard to use less new cotton. So, of course, organic cotton is minimum level for us. So we don't use conventional cotton, we don't use it at all. But also we bring quite a lot of products now without any new cotton. So either it's recycled cotton with Refibra. We have a beautiful pair of jeans without 0% new cotton. also unwashed. So also you have to wear it in, you can wear it longer. And if we can create this movement by using more tencel, hemp, linen, natural fibers that don't need so much water and not so much chemicals, in 5 years we don't want to use any new cotton unless there is a new way of cotton growing which uses less water. And that would be also a nice solution. Next to that, I would love to go to a higher level, paying my workers in all the factories a living wage. At the moment, we pay between minimum wage and living wage, but some factories are not at living wage yet, which is quite a lot higher than the minimum wage. And that would be a great ambition from the social part of our business. And to use no water in washing anymore. At the moment, we still do the lighter washes with some water. The darker washes are all without water, and some light washes as well, but I like to wash all garments without water, and I think by the end of this year we are there.
Nice.
So that's, yeah. So if you look at the social part, the raw material part, and the washing part, we have quite strong ambitions. And also I like to set up more system of collecting old clothing and upcycle it, post-consumer recycled products into new products. Which we do already sometimes. We do every year Reuse the Blues. It's a competition for consumers. They can order 3 jeans and they can make...
You believe that brands have a role to play in the taking back?
Yeah. Not only brands, but the retailers as well, because the retailers...
the retailers.
Because it has to come from the consumer to us.
Sure.
So, I think there should be a better system to collect clothing in a better way, because still, I think more than half of all the clothing is just being thrown away in the regular trash.
Totally.
So it doesn't get upcycled or recycled. So I think there's still a big role to play. There's so many beautiful old garments which you can either sell as second-hand. I would also really encourage second-hand clothing. There's beautiful vintage pieces to buy. And that's much better for this earth. And it's also a lot cooler than buying a cheap new garment, I would say, if you know how to wear it.
Nice. And I wanted to ask you, Sabine, what are the subjects the next subject of sustainability you want to cover in your magazine?
Well, we were just about to work on the upcoming issue, which drops in April, which is about denim sourcing. So that sounds very neutral, but of course, in this one as well, we're going to talk mainly about how to do it in the right way, how do denim sourcing in the right way, and what options you have, starting from different options where to get your cotton from, different options or technologies, how to bleach, wash jeans, what mills work in which way, and what manufacturers work in which way, and of course talk to the brands. Maybe we could also, sit together for a talk then.
Sure.
To explain and show and give more examples what's doable and what the status quo is right now. And as I mentioned before, it should not be like that I want to point out, we do the sustainable issue, but it should be like a given in every issue that, I don't want to go as far as to say we do not report about brands anymore that cannot prove they're sustainable, because that's really something that's very difficult to be proven. But at least we would have more eyes on, in every issue, on the topic of sustainability and transparency. And again,
and do you feel this is a subject that for your entire team is important, or it depends on the people? Yeah?
And we're the team is from younger, if I call myself middle-aged, I would say from younger to older. So it goes through 2-3 generations, and I think that everybody's becoming more aware of. And the older ones, like I am, they have kids, and the kids give them input and tell them, "Hey, ma or pa, you have to think about what are you writing about, or what are you wearing, or where you go shopping." And I think that's something you need to listen to, obviously. So it's also a way of staying young and staying modern, and not making it sound as a trend only, but I think that's a new era that's starting.
And it's also really fun to do.
Yeah, it is.
I think
actually,
being very critical of what you buy and being passionate about what you consume gives much more enjoyment about having a nice dinner and being very specific about what you want, and also saying what you wear, gives much more joy, I think, in
May I
life.
say, not buying is such a relief, because usually I was like, Sundays you are on the online shops and should I buy this pair of jeans or that one? Now, like, I don't buy any, so I could do something
Easy.
else, read a book.
A lot of time left.
Yeah, really.
And space.
And it doesn't help you, I know, but
There's still
next year
7
I'm
billion
coming
people
back.
in the world who need a pair of jeans, maybe. So I'm all for selling less clothing, and that the clothing industry is shrinking. Just if I look at how we can grow as a company, there's still enough consumers we can sell to. Although they buy maybe 1 year no jeans, maybe the next year they do, and then I hope and try to motivate them to buy a Kings of Indigo jeans, or at least a sustainable product, maybe from another brand. There are many more sustainable, nice brands who do really well at the moment. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, that sounds very nice. A lot of things to do still.
Yeah.
So maybe we will open to Q&A if anybody has a question for any of us. I don't know if there is the micro is coming.
There's a microphone coming. Yeah.
So how can you really check that this organic cotton is organic cotton, and it's not just normal cotton with some company selling it as organic cotton?
For Tony or for me, or?
For anyone.
Well, if I start, we cannot check, to be honest. So if somebody tells us they use if he tells me he uses organic cotton, it's a question of trust. I could visit his company, or I could visit his suppliers, and they could even also say this is organic. In a certain way, we have, as I said, every person has to want it by themselves. If he's just greenwashing, it's bad, but it's difficult to prove the opposite.
I think it's easy to check, though. You can ask me, show me your GOT certificate for this fabric.
But
I have it in
paper
my...
is very patient, as we say in Germany.
Yeah,
so
okay,
it's always, this is why I say it's about trust, So I think
it is trust, but if you look at the textile Bündnis in Germany, for example, or we have a similar organization in the Netherlands, is checking our bookkeeping. They check the order and they link the organic GOT certificate towards it, and they do some random checks if we really do that. And we have to ask our suppliers for all these certificates, and of course there can be fraud. There can be sometimes people fucking with papers and certificates. Yes, I agree. But in general, I think it's pretty reliable. And I think about all the sustainability is about asking questions. And don't be afraid to ask too much. Just be very specific what you buy.
Yeah, I can also not find any video of a farmer making this organic cotton. I don't know if I missed it, but that you can really see farmers working on this organic cotton. It's so talked about so much, but who's actually making this, and is there some blockchain technology to check them if they're really supplying this, or is it just in the market with, I know these bigger companies in Pakistan, you cannot trust them, really.
There is the certification, like GOTS and OCS, they look through the whole process.
Chain, yeah.
And the whole chain. They don't use blockchain. There are some projects working on the blockchain. I think my personal belief on the blockchain for textile, it's a lot of input of data it's go too fast, and I think the amount of data generated to follow all the steps would generate more CO2 than, I personally believe it's a little bit crazy, but the certification existing, the OCS, GOTS, they do check from the field to the ginning and the spinning and all the process, and of course potentially there are people lying in the process, but there's a controller, so they go on site. It's rather trustable. So if somebody shows you the certificate of GOTS, you can.
I think technology will play a big role in the whole sustainability part, though, and especially on this subject, I think, of transparency. So I think we have been talking to several companies who offer blockchain technology to trace back the cotton all the way to the farmer. And it's at the moment it's pretty expensive and it's quite labor intensive. So there's a lot of administrative work. If that's being solved, so it's affordable and it's workable for brands, but also for the whole people in the whole production chain, I think this would be great. That is, you as a consumer or as a retailer click on a product, you can see the farmer in a movie. That would be the perfect transparency pledge, I would say. So, but I think I think we will go there, and I think
there are many projects in that direction.
Yeah, that's. I think also GOTS and also these kind of things should be also go more digital. So you as a consumer or as a retailer can really check. Like Tonnaer, he has beautiful blue eyes, but is he telling the truth, or can I click on this button and really trace it back?
I would just like to add that I think we should also get away from this certain countries work in a bad way and other countries, other sourcing countries work in a good way. There's always good and bad in every country, and I've been traveling also a bit in the sourcing countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Turkey, wherever, and you find absolutely high standard mills and manufacturing. So when it says made in Bangladesh or made in Pakistan, it's not automatically that it's bad production. I know there's still, they know they have to do their homework as well, and but still, you can also go to Italy and you find like, some sweatshops there. So I think this is also, if it wouldn't be so much carbon dioxide and problems with the plane, I would like to put everybody in planes and send them around the world and take a look themselves what's going on,
Yeah. Cool.
Any other question?
Hello. I have a question to Sabine. Sabine, would it be possible to have an issue in Sportswear International in the next months?
Sorry?
A special issue in your Sportswear International about sustainability.
We just had one, just one dropped.
I saw that.
Yeah.
But maybe another one from another perspective, which combines the really, really future technologies and ideas like what can be in a positive way for the future, not always looking what's bad in the world, looking forward, what Tony said, positiveness, and showing to motivate brands. I work also in the sports industry, and I work with Tony since day one. So I know his vision to invite people to have less footprint in the world, but also like have fun with fashion, still have the beautiness and everything. And I think the combination in an issue to show how the sports world can change, because what I see, they did good changes, because I'm visiting the biggest sports trade shows in 30 years, and they did a change to get more sustainable, and suddenly they turned back in the ski industry, built big boosters again with aluminium and stuff. So they made a step back again, and that annoyed me a lot, because I'm a snowboarder, we start building smaller boosters, and now every trend goes back, bigger, better, and that's not the future. So maybe we should really not be afraid to show the future. I love your magazine, it's innovative, but you're the platform for the whole industry. So that would be awesome.
Well, thanks
and we are keen to help in this kind of issue, can be next year. And it should be before ISPO, because the ISPO is the biggest sports trade show in the world, and it's not sustainable at all, I have to say. Sorry.
Thanks for the comment, actually. And every input, positive, negative, always very welcome. I would wish there would be more people also writing emails to us and telling us we would like to read more about this, and please, do more about that, because this is what we rely on. Unfortunately, there's not so much feedback all the time, so it's sometimes hard to find out. But it's definitely something we're trying to do. We do our best.
Nice. Okay, you want to add anything to?
No, I think it was quite complete.
Thanks for your presentation, by the way.
I think it's great that we have these kind of platforms where people who are interested can learn more about how to create a better world and a more fair world, and still make amazing, beautiful, lovely products, and just move up the world to like a better place.
And I think 20 years ago, it would have been a talk about trends and denim and not about sustainability.
No.
So I think something has changed. It's very slow, but I mean, it's changing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For your
Thanks a lot for having us.
presence.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
All right.